Director, Singapore, Hotelivate, and co-founder, PerfectCheck. Please give him a round of applause.
Well, good afternoon. Ooh, this is loud. Good afternoon. Everyone's awake? In the last few days of the conference, you guys kind of made my life a little difficult and a lot of easy, right? Because you've given me a hypothesis to disprove, because I'm a believer in food and beverage, and more importantly, restaurant revenue management. So the hypothesis, which I heard throughout the past 2 days, has been restaurants don't make money, right? Now you'll think during my presentation, something like a Bollywood dream sequence, right? That a chef suddenly discovers the power of revenue management, right? To overcome their financial woes. Determined Chef Marco then dive deep into data, uncovers hidden trends, right? Finds the secret sauce and strategies which he can collaborate with his team and make a lot of money, right? And then he celebrates a lot of success with this transition into these new data-driven strategies and tactics, right? Or Chef Marcos commits to ongoing adaptation because now he's so data savvy, so revenue management savvy, that from a struggling restaurant, Chef Marco suddenly becomes a celebrated chef. Dream sequence over. Let's shift to real life, right? So this is my first point of my hypothesis. While that was my key element of a dream sequence, in real life, I've done work with over 300-400 restaurants all over the world, starting from Morocco to Australia, right? And we work with independents, restaurants associated with hotels, and the whole idea is to make more money. That's the simple tagline, make more money, right? So in this one example, a 30-cent increase in a restaurant in Dubai for 5 dishes generated $35,000 in revenue, incremental revenue, right? 360 minutes of targeted server performance management in terms of server coaching generated $12,142 in incremental revenue in a month. By managing table and seat occupancy well, that means you go to a restaurant, you call at 6:30, are your tables available? No, they're not available. When you actually walk into the restaurant and you take a chance, you find that there's still 10 tables available, but the restaurant sold out, right? And that is because different people have different meal duration, different timings of eating, and that's what is not captured. Therefore, people don't optimize table and seat occupancy, right? By doing that, in 1 month, 22 additional covers were generated over the weekends, which yielded $38,145 in revenue, right? 5 items were highlighted as something as simple as chef's recommendation. Their name was changed from a very complicated, confusing name to a very simplistic name that humans like us can understand, right? And that generated $18,000 in incremental revenue, right? There were marketing sessions earlier, and Gustavo has done a great job of presenting different data insights which can be used for purposes of positioning, marketing, etc. In this case, the restaurant invested $5,895 in social media and digital marketing to elevate, target the right clientele, and it generated $72,000 in incremental revenue, right? So if there's so many success stories, and I spoke about my dream sequence, why is it not happening everywhere, right? Sounds like a very low-hanging fruit that every restaurateur, every hotelier who's got restaurants to run can really take it on very easy. And the reason for that is there is a cause and effect, right? While there is a lot of data that exists in our industry, it's sometimes very hard to pull out this data. And also think about the restaurant managers, the general managers of independent restaurants. They're time poor because 8 to 9 hours they're spending at the shop floor. So to expect this person now to spend another 3 hours or hire a dedicated revenue manager where the fixed cost is already so high and the operating margin is between 10 to 12%, Can you afford a dedicated revenue manager to just manage this function? So you leave it to your general managers, but they're time poor. And they're not just time poor, they have not necessarily been trained in how to use data or draw data insights and generate greater revenue for the restaurants, right? And then, of course, tech has innovated. We've had revenue management softwares in hotel guest rooms for the last 15 years. Pretty evolved. And today they're very cheap, right? You can get something for $400, $500 a month subscription, maybe even lesser, right? But there is no such technology that existed until 1 year ago, since the time I co-founded PerfectCheck, the world's first revenue management software for restaurants and bars, right? So today technology exists, right? And because of some of these challenges, there were fundamental effects that our industry, from a restaurant perspective, spent a lot of time in postmortem analysis. What happened, what went wrong, and there was no emphasis or focus given to forecasting demand, right? As a revenue management professional for most of my career, starting time of my career, I used to say I like to live in the future because that's where I'm going to spend the rest of my life, right? So the same applies for our businesses. If we are doing postmortem analysis, then our strategies become very 11th hour. We become very reactive, right? Our table seat management becomes first come, first serve, right? Do you accept every booking that comes into hotel guest rooms? Not necessary during high demand. So why should we do it in restaurants? There should be ways to deal with that, right? And then in many restaurants, pricing is stagnant. I can tell you, I work with a restaurant, 3 restaurants in Istanbul. They change the price every week. You know why? Because the Turkish lira is so volatile. If they don't change, the cost of produce goes up and down like a little yo-yo, right? So you're going to leave a lot of money on the table, and guess what? You may start making loss even when we are generating a lot of revenue, right? And then our focus in restaurant training, the way we engage with our staff, has been very operational, okay? How to serve tables, how to pour water, how to pour wine. Maybe there's someone who does one wine training, which people forget 95% of the content after, right? Those type of operation. But no one is really using data, benchmarking data to say, hey, why does one of my server generate $100 average check, but the other server generates $60 average check? How can I get this guy who's generating $60 average check to make $100 for me, right? So there are a lot of real-life reality issues, and that's where, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce what I call my Swiss knife of restaurant revenue and profit optimization, right? There are various tools today there that are available in your armory. There's pricing, there's table seat optimization, driving server performance, menu engineering and design, right? Distribution. We don't even talk about distribution. Now, if I ask a hotel revenue manager or hotel commercial director or GM, hey, can you tell me what's your distribution strategy? I will get a good 30-minute lesson on what people are doing to drive distribution in guest rooms. But when I ask them, okay, let's talk about restaurants and bars. So how are you distributing your restaurants and bars? What is your distribution strategy for that? And there's like a question mark. Is there a distribution strategy that restaurants should have, right? And we have several experts in the room today, you know. Rohit is here, Panchali is here, and they will tell you they spend their entire life just planning for some of those aspects of their business, right? Looking at some of these aspects of the business. And that's where distribution plays a very important role, which we don't think about today, right? Today, just like your hotel guest rooms, you have distribution platforms. You have a point of sale system, yes. On top of that, today you can put your automated revenue management system, right? Which gives you all these insights, all these recommendations, what price you can change, what type of menus you can introduce, table seat optimization, server performance recommendations, and so on, right? You also have great CRM tools, right? Which help you manage your customer relationship at a local level. If I ask any of the brands, what do you do for F&B marketing? What database do you have? They don't have that database because they only have database of their loyalty customers. But what about the 70% of the local population that visits that restaurant? Where does that data go? Who captures that data? And it's not that data doesn't exist, because when you ask them to sign into your Wi-Fi, you're collecting their email address. You're also asking permission, can I send you promotions and messages, right? So how are you leveraging that data? So today's CRM systems can be effective. This morning, someone spoke about delivery menus and delivery services, and I know HCL has done a great job launching their own delivery platform and showcase success that it can be achieved if there is a lot of focus, right? There's digital media. How do you emphasize? So many restaurants that I deal with, I find that no one is even doing the basic courtesy of acknowledging a good, positive guest review. Forget bad. Even good reviews are not being acknowledged. And there's lots of them on Google. And today there are tools like Revenate and few other softwares which can help you deal with all of this, what we call chatter analytics, right? The user-generated content that is out there. Today there are reservation booking platforms, right? Which help you bring more demand to your business, to your restaurants, right? So, lot of things to think about, and each one requires a targeted strategy if you really want to get serious about driving food and beverage revenue, right? A lot of people ask me this question, but there is no forecasting technology that is available. I said, yeah, you can forecast demand by day, by hour, by menu items today. You can forecast table and seat occupancy to a fair degree of accuracy for a period of 30 to 45 days. And there are proven models over there that with this relative, reasonable sense of accuracy, you are able to plan your operations. Not only that, you're able to understand the behavior or the nature of your segmentation. Do I get more tables of 4 at 6:30 p.m.? Again, a great example. I was in Cairo in Egypt, and in the night, for 2 days, I was at this jazz bar downstairs next to their lobby, and you used to find that people are queuing up, but there's no place to sit. You know what was the basic problem? Because they think opulence all the time and not functionality. They had put these big, big couches, and on one couch, there was only a table of 2 sitting, whereas the couch was designed to have 8 people. So what did we do? We convinced the owner, can we change our table and seat configuration? Guess how much was the incremental revenue? 280,000 euros annually is what they are making more as an outcome of that one change. What was the capital investment in doing that? 21,246 euros. Can you imagine the return on investment you're getting as an outcome of something as simple as that? We talk about menu engineering. On a dynamic basis, you can be doing menu engineering. Today, there has been a lot of Wendy's. How many of you are aware of the Wendy's saga that happened some time back? Can I see a show of hands? Anyone knows the Wendy's saga that happened? Okay, the story is that Wendy's went and said that we are going to do dynamic pricing from now on, and the media picked it up and they called it, oh, now Wendy's is going to do surge pricing like Uber and so on. The idea is not that. The idea is that there is always a prospect theory at play, and some of these strategies which I'm talking about have scientific fundamental basis that there is customer acceptance of some of these strategies. So for example, I own a restaurant in Singapore. I'm invested there. And the lunch was doing really badly. Right? So we carried out a little survey saying, okay, how do we get the lunch more exciting, right? And we introduced a special menu, which feels like it's an a la carte menu, but it's actually a pretty set menu, right? And we priced it at $28. The average check of this restaurant typically is about $78 to $82, right? So we priced it at that. What was the fundamental reason? If it covers heat, light, and power, rent, and staff costs, anything I make during dinner will be cream. So if I can get this restaurant going, and today you can't get a reservation for lunch, right? There are many Japanese restaurants that are already doing that, which are Michelin star restaurants. For dinner, you spend $400, but you go and have their lunch, it's available for $78. Why do they do that? It's variable pricing. And that's one of the aspects that these tools and these systems can help. right? Understanding your server performance is a very intimate affair because each server has their own strengths and they have their opportunities for improvement. In one restaurant, we found that the wine sale of one server was very low, right? And we asked this person, what happened? You've not given wine education? He said, no, I understand that. But my faith does not allow me to sell wine. So the guy was not selling wine, right? So something as fundamental as that, so you can't do anything about it. So you can reallocate him to another area and get someone who will do wine service and will sell wine. And suddenly we saw the wine sales went up in that restaurant, had an impact of about $3 in terms of average check the following month when we did this change, right? In some cases, someone may not be selling enough sides simply because he's loading people with too many main courses and too many starters, so there's no space for sides, right? So these are some of the important things that we need to keep about. Now, I know some of these presentations are going to be shared with you. So if you want to get started, learn the basics, understand your restaurant, research the market, data collection, collect data, understand your business. Start small. Just start with menu engineering. Don't try and do everything together, right? And most importantly, technology exists. You can get a great system for less than $100 a month that can help you make a lot more at an ROI of about 26 to 1, right? So there is a pathway. And later on, you can refer to a little cheat sheet that we featured for you. So those of you who are thinking about engaging with food and beverage revenue management or restaurant revenue management, you have a little cheat sheet and a little guide included that you can really take benefit from. Thank you very much for your attention. Happy to take any questions. Any questions? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Puneet. Moving on to our next session.